Look, if you are still treating facility odors like a basic mopping chore, you are literally fighting a losing battle. Welcome to this professional masterclass. Today, we're going to permanently shift your perspective on facility hygiene. We are stepping completely away from rudimentary surface cleaning. Instead, you're going to learn how to diagnose and resolve these issues as a complex systems engineering problem. By the end of this training, you will possess the specialized knowledge and the exact implementation frameworks required to execute permanent eradication strategies.
Here's our roadmap for today's masterclass. We'll start with the illusion of clean, then break down the 4 primary odor sources, dig into plumbing systems and sewer gas, tackle porous surfaces and biofilm, deploy bioenzymatic eradication strategies, and finally, zoom out to the total facility ecosystem. Let's get right into it.
Module 1, the illusion of clean, appearance versus hygiene. To engineer a truly sanitary environment, we've got to shatter a massive industry myth right out of the gate.
Listen, in a professional environment, looking clean absolutely does not equal being clean. If your strategy is just blasting heavy fragrances or hanging up automated air fresheners to mask a smell, that's what we call level 1 odor masking. And frankly, it's a professional failure. It leaves the underlying biological threat totally intact. What you actually need is level 3. This is the gold standard, the total mechanical and chemical elimination of the root source, completely resetting the system. We don't just cover up problems here, we engineer them out of existence.
Which brings us to Module 2, the 4 primary odor sources. This is your diagnostic framework. To successfully engineer a hygienic space, you need to know exactly where the contamination is actually coming from.
When we conduct professional audits, we find that stubborn odors almost always trace back to 4 main culprits. First up, human waste. That's your sharp, pungent ammonia. Second is bacterial activity, which gives off that sour, musty smell from microbial waste byproducts. Third, and honestly the most dangerous, sewer gas. You know it instantly by that rotten egg profile of hydrogen sulfide. And fourth, porous surfaces, which trap contaminants and just make the room feel stale. The key takeaway here, the smell itself isn't the actual contamination, it's just the alarm bell for a deeper mechanical or biological failure.
Think of every restroom odor as having a specific 5-stage life cycle. It goes source generation, release into the environment, transport via airflow, detection by the people in the room, and finally, persistence. Your job as a professional is to forcefully disrupt this cycle at step 1 or 2, generation or release. You have to shut it down long before the building's HVAC system can transport those molecules into the occupied space.
Now let's talk about one of the most destructive and honestly misunderstood engines of odor, uric salts. What are they? They're highly alkaline mineral deposits that form directly from uric acid. So as urine evaporates on a surface, these crystalline structures bloom and harden. They basically build a fortified breeding ground for bacteria. And get this, they actually scale up so much they can block urinal drains, and over time, they can literally dissolve your metal plumbing connections if you don't intervene.
When we do elite-level audits, we almost always find massive, active urine contamination in hidden hotspots. I'm talking about the zones directly underneath urinals, tucked behind toilet bowls, and hidden under floor mats. Standard wet mopping? It completely fails here. It just pushes dirty water around, which means your nightly cleaning crew might be missing the actual problem entirely. You have to physically get down there, inspect, and chemically treat these hidden reservoirs to achieve true source removal.
All right, moving to Module 3, plumbing systems and sewer gas, mechanical interventions. We're stepping past surface biology now and looking directly at the building's mechanical infrastructure.
So many persistent odors are actually driven by undiagnosed plumbing failures. Did you know a P-trap water seal can completely dry up after just 3 to 5 months of not being used? It's the most common failure point we see. We also frequently find slightly damaged toilet wax rings, blocked vent pipes, and broken joints. When a P-trap dries out or a seal breaks, your defensive water barrier is gone. That just swings the door wide open for hazardous hydrogen sulfide to dump straight into the room.
To really master odor control, you've got to understand a bit of building physics, specifically the stack effect. Here's how it works. Warm air naturally rises through a structure. As it goes up, the lower floors suck replacement air inward while the upper floors push air outward. Why does this matter? Because a single dried-out floor drain in some forgotten basement utility room can actively transport raw sewer gases vertically, completely ruining the air in your top-floor executive suites. You have to trace the airflow pathways, not just inspect the immediate room.
So what's your ultimate mechanical defense against those dry P-traps? trap primers. These are brilliant little devices that automatically drop a perfectly measured amount of water right into the trap. They trigger off pressure drops or standard water use in the building. Keeping those defensive water seals intact is a non-negotiable, absolute best practice if you want to protect your indoor air quality from sewer gas.
Now we enter Module 4, Porous Surfaces and Biofilm, the Deep Reservoirs. We're diving into the deep, hidden repositories of contamination in high-traffic environments. The biggest long-term threats hide right inside microscopic porous materials. The main villain here is biofilm. Imagine a highly structured community of microorganisms that build their own protective, slimy armor, locking themselves onto surfaces, especially inside drains and unsealed grout. This matrix is incredibly tough. It shields the bacteria from normal surface disinfectants, which allows them to just keep regenerating odor compounds, even after the surface technically looks clean to the eye.
Because up to 90% of restroom odors can come straight from urine trapped deep inside grout lines, you need a rigorous, multi-step eradication strategy. Check this out. First, a dry surface sweep to grab the loose debris. Second, lay down an alkaline pre-treatment. Third, you've got to get in there with heavy mechanical scrubbing using a stiff nylon brush. Fourth, hit it with a targeted enzyme treatment and give it proper dwell time. Finally, complete drying and a fresh sealant application. If you aren't physically agitating that chemical down into those 1/8-inch crevices, you are literally just skimming the surface.
Module 5, Bioenzymatic Eradication Strategies, Advanced Chemistry. To permanently destroy the biological colonies hiding in those microcrevices, we need to upgrade our chemicals.
Bioenzymatic technology uses natural, completely safe bacteria that manufacture highly specific enzymes, and these enzymes act like a perfect lock and key. They are biologically engineered to snap onto complex waste molecules, like heavy fats, oils, and stubborn uric acid, and break them apart. The bacteria then eat those smaller pieces, completely converting the waste into harmless carbon dioxide and water. It's a brilliant biological process.
The real superpower of bioenzymatics, especially compared to harsh, outdated chemicals like chlorine bleach, is residual cleaning. Bleach basically just burns the surface for a temporary fix. But bioenzymatic cleaners, they actually multiply. They stay behind and actively digest organic matter for hours, sometimes days, after you apply them. They just keep eating and eating until the root cause is completely starved, digested, and eradicated forever. Which brings us to our final section, Module 6, the Total Facility Ecosystem, System-Level Consulting. Let's synthesize everything into a high-level framework.
Proper, large-scale odor management relies heavily on 4 interconnected systems: cleaning, plumbing, ventilation, and environmental. And here's the catch. A failure in just one of these layers compromises the entire building. For example, if you have a weak exhaust fan that can't pull out the humidity and that pairs up with a dry drain trap, that's a catastrophic odor vent waiting to happen. You have to evaluate the whole ecosystem holistically and see how these layers impact each other.
Optimizing this ecosystem means strategically integrating your active and passive systems. You absolutely need strong mechanical ventilation to suck out the heat and moisture that breeds bacteria. At the same time, you should deploy active meter dispensers mounted high up on your walls. Here's a crucial insider pro tip. The optimal placement is 5 to 10 feet from an entrance. This actually leverages the natural drafts and that stack effect we talked about earlier to give you incredibly precise air quality control.
As we wrap up this masterclass, I want you to critically evaluate your own operations. You now understand the molecular chemistry of biofilm. You know the advanced building physics of airflow and the mechanical dependencies of your plumbing systems. So you have to ask yourself a fundamental question. Are you still just wiping down the facility's surfaces, or are you ready to professionally engineer its hygiene ecosystem? It's time to stop treating the symptoms and completely eliminate the system producing the problem. Thank you for joining me.